Welcome to another episode of the Escaping Normal podcast, where I'm diving into the diaries of startup entrepreneurs living in Dubai. Now, I've got Wesley in the studio here with me this morning, and he recently left his career in the digital marketing space, working as an SEO specialist, to go into his business full time. Now, in this conversation, we are going to uncover some really interesting SEO strategies that you can use as a startup entrepreneur to implement into your business. We are also going to discuss some of the challenges that he's faced starting his business, as well as the rewards that he gets from being able to work in his business full time. So if you are somebody that is thinking about starting their own business, but not sure about whether to leave their career, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome to the podcast, Wezo. So good to have you on here, boy.
Thanks, bro. It's been a bit of time in the making, so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
100%. So I want to start things off, right? You recently left your corporate job to go full-time into your own business. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I mean, that whole process has been a bit of time in process, right? It's quite easy to think that it happened overnight, but the reality is that I've been learning about these things and trying for about 8 years, right? So it's taken a long time to get to the point where I've been able to leave my job. And obviously, since leaving my job, which was on Christmas Day, was my last day working. So it's like a little bit of a Christmas present to myself, if you will. So it's been about 2 months since leaving. And yeah, just the whole dynamic has changed, right? So like working for yourself and working for somebody else's company is a completely different experience. So yeah, it's very interesting learning how to manage your own time as opposed to working on somebody else's time. So yeah.
Now, you mentioned that you left on Christmas and it was like a Christmas present. Why do you say that?
I mean, I guess my goal in life is always to kind of have my own thing. You know, I've always been trying to start something or do something. It's been a while. And I have left my job before, don't get me wrong. I've left once before to also, again, start my own thing. But to be able to be, I think, confident enough to be in that position, to take that risk, is very like rewarding, it's self-rewarding, right? And it's a bit of relief that you get to do what you want to do. You don't have to do because you don't have to do what you have to do. You get to do what you want to do.
So this isn't the first time that you've done it, not the first business that you've gone into and started. Where do you think this entrepreneurial drive came from?
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer. You know, growing up, I think my dad had his own architectural firm, so he's always had his own business, always been in the trenches. A couple of my friends have had their own businesses, and I always had this idea of internet money, right? That's where it all started, of being able to work from home or work from wherever you want for that matter and earn internet money, online money. Having that location freedom, that was always the kind of goal. The goal was never to start like a physical business, right? Which is ironically now what I have. So it's really kind of started all the way back then. You know, I think it really started with some of my passions in life, which is like motorbikes and dirt biking. So one of the first ventures that I went into was a blog about dirt biking, trying to, you know, catch those internet monies.
I love how you call it internet money. So it just shows you how long ago this whole idea of wanting to start your own business started, from using the words internet money.
Yeah.
Hey, it's such a young thing, but I've lived and love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. And, you know, it is ironic that this has started because, you know, the business that we've started now was never the plan. The plan was to actually, you know, create a website that I could essentially rent out to somebody or sell the leads to somebody. I never wanted to be like physically so involved in it. I just wanted to rent the leads out or sell the leads. And I just got to the point where, you know, the people that I was trying to sell the leads to were not doing a good job of closing the projects, and I just figured I could do it better. So now we're here.
But you mentioned previously that the first business that you did, you was involved in like blogging, right? Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so that started. So to really understand that actually the first one that I started was a website that I made to sell covers that go over your cast, like if you break your arm. See, I told you I was like into motorbikes, so I broke my arm a couple times, and I ended up being in a cast for about 4 months. Right, I broke it once and I broke it twice, and then blah blah blah. So my mom was super creative, she makes so many different things at home. So she ended up like sewing these elastic stretch materials that go over a cast. Because, you know, cast is like typically a white cast.
Yes.
Gets dirty, impossible to clean it. So this was essentially like a cover in whatever different pattern, in stretchy, lycra material, like a bikini kind of material. It just looked funky, kept it clean, and I would start selling that to other people that had broken their arms, you know. And I sold a couple, and I would go to like orthopedic surgeons and put out pamphlets and flyers on their desks, so that whenever they're coming in for consultations on their broken arms, they'd check the number, contact me, make them a cover, sell them the cover. So that was the first ever website that I built, which was in 2016, and I had no clue about building websites. Right, that was just sitting at home on YouTube. I still remember, like on my wardrobe doors at home, I had a little whiteboard. I turned them into whiteboards. And I remember like sitting on YouTube, Googling like how do I build a website? What platform do I use to build a website? And I had like 4 different builders that I put up. Write down the pros and cons of each one. Okay, this one costs $5. This one costs $20. This one has this features. Blah blah blah. And eventually chose one, built that little shitty website, and then essentially left South Africa to come to Dubai. So I shut that down. Then in my first year in Dubai, I went on vacation with 2 friends, and one of them had started a blog, right? And that's when I first learned about the idea of blogging. So I started researching, learning, and went into that business with 2 friends. Essentially, the whole concept behind it was to write content on different blog articles and try and get that content to rank on Google, right? So in my example, I would write content like the best motorbike helmets for dirt bikers. Then we'd try get that content to rank at the top of Google, and people would come and read the content. And in that content would obviously have links to the products that you're reviewing and recommending. And those links would send people to Amazon. And once somebody clicks on that link, Amazon essentially tags them with, a cookie. So anything that person buys on Amazon for the next 30 days, I would earn a commission off of their purchases. So the more content and the more blog topics that I write and I rank on Google, the more potential commission that I earn from these people.
So what made you in the first place even decide to want to build a website? Because back in 2016, it's not like that was a common thing, especially for someone of your age. How old were you at the time?
I think I must have been early 20s.
Yeah.
Or 20 even.
Yeah. So, most people are out partying, chasing after girls. Like what drove you to want to build a website?
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know the answer to that. I figured after breaking my arm, I had these products, and I just didn't want to be driving around all the time handing out pamphlets to surgeons, and I needed a place that I could get online visibility, right? So the website just seemed like the most natural place to go, because Instagram and Facebook was around, but Instagram wasn't really such a thing then, So that's kind of how the website thing started. And then only, 2 years, 3 years later, did I really learn about how to actually build a website, because that first one was just complete garbage.
Did you make any sales off of it or?
To be honest, I don't think I made any sales directly from the website. So it was actually just the flyers that I left at the surgeons' offices that made the money. So,
yeah. Okay. And then you started this blog. Now, where did you get the idea? Where did the whole idea come that, and I'm talking from the perspective of someone that's potentially looking at setting up kind of like their own sort of like online business so they can earn internet monies, right? Where did the whole idea come from? How that cool? You were going to write this blog, and then you were going to take the information, you were going to put links in there to Amazon. How did you formulate that whole kind of plan and idea in your head?
Yeah, sure. So I'm not going to take any credit for coming up with that idea, because I definitely wasn't the first, That was actually one of my friends that we went on holiday with to Tbilisi, Georgia. And I remember that day we had actually just come out of an escape room. Most crazy experience of my life, that escape room in Georgia. But we had just come out of there, and he was on his phone, checking his phone. He was like, damn, just made $6,000 this month. It's like, what do you mean? How, bro? Like, how are you making $6,000 on the internet? It's like, oh, I just have a blog. Like, what's a blog, bro? How do you make money on a blog? So that whole like little boy's vacation just became like almost like an interrogation. Like, how do I do this? What tool do I use? How do I build a website? And then after that, me and my 2 friends decided, okay, let's look into this, try get some courses, took some courses, learned how to build sites, and then eventually learned how to do SEO and optimize websites.
What do you think that tells us about how important it is to surround ourselves with the right people?
Yeah. When you put it like that, it's crazy, right? Because you don't know if it's going to be an idea that they have that you may never have thought of. You don't know if it's going to be a skill that they have that you are lacking. I mean, it's super important to get other people's perspectives.
And that just shows the power of networking, that it's all about intention. And if you are someone that you intentionally go network, well, in this case, it was just a little boys' weekend, but the power of networking and meeting people is you just never know that it could be a simple boys' holiday, right? But if you choose to surround yourself with the right sort of people, right? And I assume he must have been a fairly kind of like entrepreneurial kind of individual for him to even sort of have that blog. So, if you are somebody that, is struggling with ideas or whatever, being intentional about who you choose to surround yourself with can really make all the difference.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I mean, it's something that I think about quite often these days, And to be honest, it's not something that I'm great at, is the whole networking side. But as part of, my goals for this year to further grow our existing company is going to be a lot of networking involved. I've already just kind of reached out to somebody to kind of take me through the mentorship and coaching program, just one-on-one, as like a friend and a mentor that's been in the space for a long time. And that way it also opens me up to a network of people that he knows, and other people that may be able to just add value to me, or I could potentially add value to them,
So this is a sort of like a mentor.
It will be. We haven't had our first session yet. It's taken me a lot of time and building up courage, because it's always one of those things that was, a bit weird in a sense and a bit awkward to reach out to someone and be like, hey, do you mind like mentoring me? And I hear it all the time on different like podcasts and read it in the books. It's like one of a super important thing to do to fast track your growth personally and professionally. It's just taken me a long time to get to the point of actually finding and asking the right person.
How did you find this person?
So it's somebody that's actually directly involved in the industry, right? They're actually one of the people that started the whole industry in Dubai back 10 years ago or so. So
well, what industry is that?
So this is the whole interior wrapping industry.
And is this the business that you're going into? Okay, yeah. So we'll go into that and dive into exactly what that is now. So just in terms of how you managed to find this guy, and the reason why I'm asking you this is for somebody that's looking for a mentor, someone that's watched podcasts like you, sees the importance of it, but is like, where do I find this person that I want to mentor them? How did you find this person?
Honestly, mate, it was just over a coffee. I just asked him to have a coffee.
Did you find him on LinkedIn? Instagram?
So he's basically the supplier of material, So he's in the industry, and I speak to his team when we have to order materials and things like that. So it's not really the case of me like actively pursuing and finding him. It was more of a case of us, working in the same industry and crossing paths. So that's really how it came about.
And what did you just ask him for coffee and he
yeah, so that was the first time. I had no intention at that point of actually asking to the mentor. The coffee was just to try and understand the market insights, how the industry is growing. Is it going to be seasonal? So I just wanted to understand what my risks are before I left my job. So I just wanted to kind of pick his brain a little bit. And then that's really when I like saw the passion that he had for business and entrepreneurship itself. So that kind of stuck with me for a while. And then it eventually took me a bit of time to be like, okay, that's the guy. That's the person that I would love to ask to like mentor me. So yeah, I only asked him about 2 days ago. So yeah, I'll set it up next week. Thursday will be our first session.
Really? That's crazy. And once again, it just shows you just putting yourself out there and meeting people. If you're not sure, ask somebody in the industry that you're in, right? And I feel like that's one of the biggest things, especially for your startup entrepreneurs, is they're worried that they don't have all the answers. But there's someone that has experience that does have most of those answers. And all you need to do is just reach out to them, and you never know where that conversation can potentially go.
Yeah, exactly, man. And you don't always know who that right person is going to be, but there's always somebody that's going to know who that person could be. So for example, I went to a little founders running club, small group of people that meet up every Saturday morning for a 5-kilometer run and a coffee. And afterwards you just sit around, have a chat, and you see what industry people are in. And that's like, it's a very natural way of just meeting somebody that could be in a similar industry. And then you can find out who is their network. If they possibly speaking with somebody else, where do they get their advice from? And you never know, that might be the same person that you can have a sit down with.
Now, what was the career that you've just moved out of?
So for the last 2 years, I've been working in search engine optimization, right? Which is essentially the process of optimizing a website to rank better on Google, Bing, Yahoo, all different kinds of search engines. So it's not, I think the important thing to distinguish here is it's not designing websites or building websites, it's optimizing websites, right? How to get it to the top of the first page of Google. That's really what the focus has been.
And I guess that's quite fitting, obviously, you know, with doing the website building, then doing the blogging. Is that kind of why you initially sort of went into the SEO kind of space?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so, you know, once we got the idea of the blogging side of things, the building the websites and things, that's the fun part, right? The design part's the fun part, but optimizing them is the hard part. And that's really what took a lot of self-learning and YouTube tutorials, right? So that process, you know, I spent about a year in Vietnam during COVID. So I was writing all the content for my own websites at that point. Like every day was a daily grind, you know, wake up early, smash out 2, 3, 4, 5,000 words worth of content, publish it on the website every single day for like 3-4 months. And so at the end of it, we had like 120, 150 different blog articles. But each one of those need to follow like a very structured format. And, you know, once you get your hands dirty, you start trying to pay attention to how your article's performing. So you'll go into Google every day, or you'll check your different tools and see if your website or that web page is climbing up the ranks, or if it's dropping the ranks. Maybe one of your competitors is overtaking your page. And then you start analyzing, what is he doing different? Or what can I change? Or how can I optimize my site to rank higher? Because obviously the higher your website is ranking, the more clicks you're getting to your website, the more leads you're generating, the more sales that you're getting. So that's really where I started learning SEO. And then I moved back to South Africa for about 6 months and applied for jobs to come back to Dubai. And then started working in an SEO agency, which now has been rated #1 SEO agency globally, as well as best MENA SEO agency for the last 3 years since I've been there. And then eventually we actually worked on a couple of campaigns, big campaigns for, you know, websites like Yes Island and Ferrari World, which have won awards now in SEO for MENA, best use of SEO for travel and leisure industry. So yeah, I've got a bit of SEO experience now, and it all really started just with YouTube tutorials and getting the hands dirty on a blog.
So you're the one with the SEO experience, right? So I've just say for instance, I've just, you know, launched my own website. I've just created it using WordPress or one of those platforms. What advice can you give me that can help me ensure that my SEO ranks higher than my competitors?
Yeah, so, you know, I'd say a lot of people try to focus on the nitty gritties when you can actually focus on like the 20% of things that will move the needle 80% of the way, right? And really some of the basic things are making sure that you are matching search intent, right? So you got to think about what somebody is potentially typing into Google. What are they actually looking for? What are they expecting to find on Google, right? And make sure that your content is matching what they're expecting to find. So for example, right, if you had to go into Google now and type in running shoes, you're probably going to find Amazon, Namshi, Noon, all these big e-commerce platforms and a whole bunch of e-commerce ads at the top of Google, right? Running shoes. People are looking potentially to buy running shoes. But if you had to go and type in, say, Adidas running shoes, what's going to come up, right? It's all those same websites, but they're page for Adidas running shoes. So when you have that in mind, you need to make sure that you're structuring your web page with those kind of keywords in the right places. Third example is if you look for something like best running shoes for triathlons, you're probably going to find a whole bunch of blog posts recommending 10 different running shoes for you to go and do a triathlon, which is what I was doing on the blog, right? So very different search intent. People searching for best are probably looking for a comparison between different products or looking for a recommendation. They may be not quite yet at the end of that purchase journey, right? They're still trying to discover what they want. So that's the one biggest thing I'd say is make sure your intent or the content that you're writing matches the search intent behind the person that's going to look for that content.
So would that mean that, let's say on my website, would need to have the words Adidas and shoes and kind of that kind of thing? Simplify that for me a little bit.
Yeah, so let's take, for example, you know, if we look at my blogs, for example, you know, one of the best articles at the time was, best dirt bike helmets for motocross. So the title of that page, when you search on Google, that's going to show up on Google. The title is going to be exactly that: best dirt bike helmets for motocross.
Because that's someone that's now Googled what is the best motorcycle helmets
Exactly.
for motocross.
Exactly.
Okay.
They've searched that exact keyword, and I'm putting that exact keyword in all the places that Google considers as the most important ranking factors. Right. So the most important ranking factors is, number one, having it in that title of your page. Number two, having it in the URL of your page. So it's going to be whatever, yourwebsite.com/best motorcycle helmets for motocross. Number three is your headings, right? So what most people don't realize is that on a web page, there's different heading styles, different heading formats. Most web designers will use these just to change the size or the color of a heading. That's not the purpose of it, right? You have an H1, a heading 1, which is essentially the top heading on your page. Yes. It's a very important ranking factor. That should be your exact keyword as well, right? So these are the key areas, and then you'll have your keywords somewhere within the content of the page itself. So just naturally talking about the subject. So when looking for the best, motorcycle helmet, these are some options you can consider. So having the keyword in the content is also really good. Yeah.
That's so funny because I'm the typical example of someone that thinks I'm like H1, H2, H3. It's cool. One's bigger, medium, small.
It kills me. It kills me.
And I'm busy creating a newsletter now at the moment on Beehive, and it's literally H1, H2, and I'm like, okay, 6. So it just means that I can
size is bigger and smaller. No.
No. So that plays a very big part in how
100%
Google would rank your blog, your
100%
website.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I mean, when I was working for the SEO agency, they would get another web design agency to make them a fresh, beautiful looking website, and it would come back and their whole web page has like 10 different H1s. And you're like, in SEO, this is almost like a sin, all right? You should only have one H1. You can have as many H2s as you have. The way I think about it is like, put yourself back in university when you're going through a textbook, when you're studying, right? The book has a title. Right? Every chapter has its own main heading, right? And then every main heading has its subheadings. So it's putting it in a different hierarchy so that it's got a natural flow between the content of the textbook. So you have your main heading, you have your next important heading, then you have your next important heading, and so on. And Google kind of reads web pages in the same way.
Yes, that's actually a brilliant explanation because there's only one title of the book.
Exactly.
You don't have but there's a lot of the time the subtitle, there's a few different subtitles in each chapter. So if you look at it like that, well, listen, that literally helped me because I have about 5 H1s on my newsletter.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, just highlight the text, make it bold, and increase the size, and you'll get the exact same look, but you'll actually be optimizing your web page for SEO.
And you think that's also with the success of like WeBuyCars.com and those sort of like, do you think they've kind of done that all for like SEO perspective?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this is only really one facet of SEO. There's so many different facets of it, but this is typically the easiest one that the average person will understand and be able to do. So all these big websites, most of them will have that in place. But the reality is that they have so much authority online. They have so much content. They have so many other websites linking back to theirs, which is a huge factor. The more websites you have linking back to yours is critical. Google kind of sees that as like a handshake of the internet, right? If Google is your parents and you are the child and playing with a friend, and your parents see you playing with naughty other kids, it's probably not a good sign, right? You're probably going to get into trouble. But if you get links from other websites that Google respects and has authority from, like Wikipedia or any of these big authority sites, that actually increases the authority of your website and improves your chances of ranking on the internet. So even if these big sites don't get those basic H1s right, they just have so much authority that it's difficult to compete with.
And you get that authority by providing like value, right? That another site would add your website as a link on their
reference
page. So that's why it uses that, because Google is basically saying, well, hang on a minute, this must be valuable information on here if other websites are now referring this.
Exactly. And I mean, It's a funny world, man. That in itself is its own business. You know, there's people that build websites just to sell links from their website to other websites, and you can charge up to like $500,000 just for one link. You know, so in the world of SEO, you need to really, when you're doing that or building links or reaching out to other websites owners, you can say, hey, look, I've created a really awesome piece of content. Your audience might enjoy this content as well. Would you mind considering adding a link to my website? You know, some people will be like, yeah, this is great content. You know, I'll add a link for sure. 99% of them, yeah, sure, I'll add a link. It's just going to be $200. You know, so it's it's a brutal world, man.
It's a massive web.
Yeah.
You think you see SEO, but it's just like it just goes deep.
It's deep. It's deep. My entire LinkedIn inbox is just flooded with people trying to sell me links. And the problem is if you know, firstly, it's against Google's terms of service to purchase links from other websites. If they catch you doing it, your website's going to be penalized and completely taken off the internet. So don't do it. But if you do, make sure you vet the websites you're buying links from, which is a whole other process.
Very interesting. Tell me about this business venture that you're currently on now.
Yeah, so this business is called Nova Wrap. It is essentially an interior wrapping company. So for most people, I think the whole concept of wrapping or interior wrapping is still new. So everyone kind of knows about wrapping cars, right? You can buy a car and change the color into green, red, gold, whatever you want. So we use the exact same principle that we wrap kitchens, bathrooms, walls, wardrobes, floors, whatever you want. So we do it for interiors, which is very popular in Dubai, and it's growing very popular in the UK, and it's growing quite a lot in South Africa. So yeah, it's really about, you know, using a very specialized architectural film that can completely transform the look of your space on a budget, really.
How did you get into? What made you think, yeah, this is it?
Man, yeah. I don't even know how I got myself into a situation, to be honest. You know, and to be honest, it does come through from SEO itself. You know, I use a lot of software that I can essentially crawl websites and analyze all the different keywords and all the different pages on their websites. So really what I did is I crawled, you know, like Angie's List in the UK, or here it would be someone like Beirut, because they have millions and millions of pages and they do millions of different services and they rank for tens of millions of different keywords, right? So when I use this software and I look at these keywords, it shows me two really important metrics. One of them is going to be search volume, which is essentially an assumption of how many people are searching for this keyword in your area every month, right? So I got that metric. And then the second metric that's super important that I looked at was difficulty or competitiveness. So how difficult would it be for me to build a website and rank for these keywords compared to the other people that are currently trying to compete for that keyword? So I essentially exported a list from Beirut of all these different keywords, and I filtered them by the most people searching for them that are the easiest to compete for. And kitchen wrapping, interior wrapping was one of them. So I just figured, okay, build a website, rank it, and then the whole idea was to sell the leads to somebody who actually does the work so that I can get back on that internet money train, you know, and yeah, that's really how it started.
How long have you been doing that for? When did you set that up?
So I built the website about a year ago. It would have been in August 2023 is when I built the website. And then really, yeah, then in November kind of registered the company itself. So between August and November, I was trying to sell the leads to other companies. But there was, you know, either I'm a really shitty salesman or we just couldn't get onto the same page. I mean, it was either I was bad at sales or they were bad at sales because they weren't closing any of the leads that I was sending them, and they didn't want to work on like a rank and rent model. You know, I wanted just a fixed fee. Give me 1,000 dirhams and I'll give you all the leads. I won't give them to anyone else. They said, no, I'll pay you a percentage of the job that we close from the leads that you get. You know, so sent them about 50 leads. They closed maybe 3 jobs. They owe me, I don't know, a couple thousand dirhams still. But that was just shocking, you know, and I just got to the point where I was like, you have an entire business doing this, but you've closed 3 out of the 50 leads. I'm sure I can do better. and there we go. Found a couple of freelancers, part-timers that knew how to do wrapping, put an ad up on Indeed, got 3 randoms to come with me for our first project, and the guy wasn't here in Dubai when we did his house. So that was great for us because we had extra time to go back and fix all the stuff we didn't do good. So yeah, led us into the apartment from while he was away, wrapped his kitchen, did a really bad job on the first one, but learned a lot of lessons. And since then, we hired one of those guys who's come a long way. He's just completed his 1 year. And yeah, that's really how it started.
You had no experience of kitchen wrapping before that?
No, no, I didn't even understand the concept. I mean, I've done a little, when I say I've done a little bit of wrapping myself, it was probably our second job. We got a message on a Sunday, and it was actually through a fit-out company. They needed just one panel of it was like a dishwasher door that they wanted to wrap, just a single panel. I got a message on a Sunday, me and my partner, and she said, well, we're just watching TV. Let's just go do it. You don't know what's going to come from this. So we ended up going to these guys' house. They had the material, and we spent like 2 hours trying to wrap a single panel for this door. And that ended up becoming quite a lot of repeat work just from doing that. So that was great. Just taking that opportunity led to quite a lot of additional work for us.
So your sister is currently running the business with you?
Yeah, my sister and girlfriend are running the business with me at the moment.
Tell me, they always say, the one of the most important decisions that you make, especially for a startup business, is deciding who you choose to go into business with, right?
Yeah.
Now, all logic and all textbooks would tell you going to business with your family and your partner is a bad idea. Why did you choose to go into business with your sister and your girlfriend, knowing this?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, especially because one of those first blogs I went into with 2 friends, and that didn't work out so great. So the second time around, the intention was again never to go into business with both of them as partners. So what really happened is, like, I've always wanted to get my sister and my family essentially out of South Africa. I wanted them to go retire somewhere nice or bring my sister somewhere nice. So I pitched that idea to her, and she was so keen to come to Dubai. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to do this website. If we can get the things running, then book your tickets and you can come, help me meet the clients, run the team while I sit at my office doing the day job. So that was the plan. And then with my partner, the company she was working for was actually also a startup that ended up closing down. They shut the doors, right? So that was at the same time that I was starting this. So it just kind of fell into place. They both were kind of needed, something, jobs, and I needed the help. So it that's really how it started. But yeah, managing, family and relationship dynamics and business dynamics it's got its whole own challenges to think about.
Now, what part does social media play in your business?
Yeah, it's a good question, and to be honest, it's a weird one for us because we haven't put a lot of focus on social media up until now. We've been very, very poor with the content that we've been putting out. We don't run any ads on social media, but I know for a fact that for most of our competitors, social media is like their number one source of lead generation. So for us, it's definitely an area that we are missing out on. But what we've actually just done is hired a videographer now to join the team. So he is now, going with the installation team to each site and project and taking content, editing content. So that's something that we're going to be pushing quite hard going forward.
So your primary source of lead generation is through?
It's all through the website, all organic. Which has its pros and cons, right? Number one pro is that I don't have to pay for anything, and the website's optimized. It just ranks, right? It just brings leads in every single day. The con is that all my eggs are in one basket, and Google is ruthless. Like Google updates algorithms all the time, right? And it's taken out many of my websites from its algorithm updates. And, I think just the way the future is going with AI and things like that, it is a potential risk to let have all your leads coming from just from a website. So that's why, we're going to be pushing a lot of focus onto social media and networking going forward to diversify our risk and also to increase the volume of leads that we're bringing in.
How do you see AI changing the whole internet kind of landscape?
Yeah, man, I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I like it. It's you can already see that it's Google sneaking AI into different ways with its AI overviews and the way it's trying to rank different websites. So I think in the next couple of years, the whole idea of everyone searching on Google is going to change, right? I think a lot more people are going to be using like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube for their searches. So yeah, I think it's a super, super interesting landscape. And already what I'm seeing is that Google's starting to push a lot more of actual social media pages onto the front of Google. So I think that they're going to be using that dynamic to really power up the search behind their AI search engines. So yeah, I think the whole idea of branding and having a strong brand on social media is going to become super, super important.
What are your thoughts on personal branding, as in yourself being the owner of a business, and how important do you think personal branding is to grow and provide opportunities for your business?
Yeah, it's something that I haven't really focused on as a person. I haven't put myself as the face of the company. I haven't wanted to put myself as the face of the company. But I think what we have done well is develop the brand image of the company. So whether that's on me, I wouldn't say it's on my own personal brand. I think growing those connections with other people that have the experience that I can learn from, that will really be where my personal brand leaves its footprint in the company's growth.
And what's been your biggest challenge starting the business?
Yeah, challenges with the business. Every single thing has been a challenge. From not knowing anything about how to start a business, from not knowing anything from hiring, from not knowing anything about the processes or the workflows of the business, from not knowing anything about accounting, taxes, all of that. Dealing with people that, in Dubai, people have this expectation that things happen today, right? There's such a convenience factor here, which makes it very difficult for us to handle a lot of people, especially when you're dealing with, 15, 20 different incoming leads. I think it makes it quite challenging. And just from, the side of having the patience, when you're growing a team or when you're hiring people, they don't always, get up to speed or have the same skill set that you do. So, in the back of your mind, you kind of, want to, shift tasks onto other people to free up your time to go and do those networking things. But often you need the patience to make sure that your team is going to upskill themselves and take over that work effectively and efficiently, not just, do a subpar job on that. So I think patience has been a big one from all of us, really.
How do you develop that patience?
Just being patient, man. Yeah, I think, I'll tell you what, I would be terrible in customer service. I would, because a lot of people are super, super rude when they text you. They'll try to call you at 11 o'clock at night. They'll message you first. You got this automated message that says business hours end at 6. They'll call you at 11 o'clock at night and say, I want my kitchen wrapped. Can you come tomorrow? I'm just like, no, I can't come tomorrow. You can message me in business hours. So really it's just putting yourself in that situation where you have to confront like your weaknesses, I think has helped us develop those skills.
Now, what's essentially, what was your mindset like which drove you to finally again sort of take that jump and leave your corporate job with a salary and comfort to go full time into this business? What was that mindset shift that happened that enabled you to do that?
I think the mindset really came with knowing the numbers. I always knew that I was definitely taking a risk, but it was also a calculated risk, right? So as long as we sustain the same level of incoming leads, and as long as we can sustain the same conversion rates, and as long as our team stays the same or grows, then everything's going to be okay, right? It's not the end of the world. And even if nothing works out, there's always time to start again, right? I always tell myself, the things that you regret the most in life are the things that you didn't do. And that's something that I keep telling myself. It's like, you got to give it a try, right? Because worst case scenario, you can always start over, right? I mean, if you just put it into context, you finish studying, I don't know, at what, 25, let's just say you finish studying at 25, which means I've been working for now 8 years. So everything that I've essentially reached in my life has been done in 8 years. Worst case, start over, I can reach it again in 8 years. Probably shorter, because I still keep my knowledge and I still keep the skills that I've developed by taking all the risks. So it's not the end of the world if nothing works out. You can always start over.
How has that transition been mentally for you? Moving from that comfort of having that salary to now running your own business, dealing with the uncertainties of running your own business. How is that?
Yeah, I mean, every day is a new challenge, right? Every day is a new problem to solve. And I love that. In the corporate job, or where I was, it was very comfortable. And I don't like comfort, right? So I think I don't like to be comfortable every day doing the same repetitive tasks. I need to be challenged. I need to be like stimulated, right? And at the moment that happens pretty much 24/7. So now it's really about trying to find that balance, which is, a challenge that we're going through at the moment. But, it's really something that keeps pushing me, and I love that. It's something that I get to do. It's not something that I have to do.
Now, entrepreneurship is literally, it's a roller coaster, right? One day you're like, I'm so glad I did this. This is the best idea. Then, and literally the next day it can feel like you're at sort of rock bottom. What are some coping mechanisms that you use to help you navigate the highs and the lows of being in a startup business?
Yeah, it's true. It's like we are just saying, every day has its new challenges, right? And you can't see the future, and not every day is going to be a good day. So one thing that I try to just keep myself in check from a numbers and a financial perspective is, I plot every lead that I get every day. I keep that counter, so I know what is the minimum number of leads that we need, because our conversion rates over the last couple of months is this. So that just keeps me in check. So I don't need to think about it every single day. I can look at the trend, because in the maybe in the last 7 weeks or 7 days, sorry, I've generated more than enough leads, so that if that was a good week and this is a bad week, it actually levels out, so we're still safe. So I try not to think of things like today's a shit day. I try and put it all into a timeline. As long as the trajectory is looking good, then that gives me a lot of peace of mind, right? So that's just from pure numbers perspective that I try to look at things.
You're a numbers guy.
I never used to be, man. I was never good at maths, but now since starting the SEO side of things, it's just numbers, really.
Because what do they say? Data tells the story, right?
Data tells the story.
And if you don't know your data, you don't know the story your business is going through and going on. And actually, I think that's probably my biggest challenge. Is it's taking the time to properly read and understand the data and the numbers, because that's what you use to predict the future, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what gives me sanity, and sure, if I have a full bad month, then now I'm going to be stressing, right? But I can always know, how much reserve that we have, what is our runway. So that also gives me peace of mind. And, just in terms of other things that help beyond, data, just having a good support system around you. I think having, that strong social environment is a huge factor. It doesn't mean going out and drinking, but having those people that are close to you, that you can trust, that you can talk to about anything, super important, just to vent, right? Especially when you're working with your partners and living with your partners, right? Because then you don't always get to vent. You bring your work home, which is actually the same place. So being able to get out and have those people that you can talk with is really good. And just I think getting out in general. I was listening, I can't remember where I read it, but every opportunity that you have just to get out of the house, do it. Right? Just go out, even if it's a walk to the shop or walking to the barber, just get out, take a breather, listen to some music, look at the trees, look at the birds, that kind of thing. Enjoy the small things in life because, yeah, that's what they're there for.
Now, you were recently diagnosed with diabetes.
Yeah, so that was pretty much a month after starting the business. So everything kind of happened at once, which was, quite intense. So, yeah, I mean, that was in January of 2024. We started the business in December of 23. So it all happened together. It was a very scary experience, but everything's good now, I think.
How did you know that? Tell me what happened.
Yeah, I mean, so it's weird, right? Because I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which is not something that you can control, right? There's a big difference between type 1 and type 2, which a lot of people don't understand. Type 2 you can manage through diet and exercise. Type 1 is where your pancreas essentially shuts down and stops producing insulin, so you have to essentially inject yourself with insulin every time you ingest carbs or sugar or anything like that. So there's no way of saying like how it's happened or why it's happened, just that it was inevitable that it was going to happen at some point. All right. Typically, it happens when you're younger, so it's a bit rare to happen at my age, especially for someone that's relatively healthy. So I went on vacation for my dad's birthday in December of 2023, and I still remember I said to my mom, "Do you think I'm getting skinny?" She's like, "No, my boy, you look perfect. Like any good mother would do." Came back, went and had a big party for New Year's. After New Year's, I thought I just had a hangover from hell. Hangover didn't leave me for like 4 days. And on day 4, I was like, no, something is not right. I was feeling super thirsty, super dehydrated, and I was drinking like everything. I was craving, like Energiades, Cokes, everything. But whatever I drank, that thirst didn't disappear. And I think day 5 or day 6, my sister eventually said, "Wes, you're looking very skinny. You need to go to the doctor, my boy." I'm not the guy, I don't really weigh myself a lot, but I could notice in the mirror, like, okay, I'm dropping a bit of weight here, dropping a bit of weight there, but it's nothing crazy. Climbed onto the scale and I dropped nearly 15 kilos in a month. So I was like, shit, like I haven't weighed, I think I was 67 or 65 at that point. I didn't weigh that since I was in early high school, So I went to the doctor and got passed around a couple of doctors and eventually diagnosed me with type 1 diabetes and gave me an insulin and said, take this. If it's too much, take less. If it's too little, take more. And then just kind of figured it out from there.
How did you deal with that sort of a mental perspective? That must have been that's a big life change.
Yeah, it's huge, right? Because there's no cure for it. So it's basically going to be for the rest of life. But the first couple of days was tough, just trying to figure out what is type 1 diabetes. Because initially I didn't know, I didn't think I would even be at risk of diabetes. I always thought it was for like people that are not healthy and overweight. It's like type 1, type 2, what's the difference? So just like, consuming all that information about the risks and things was a bit scary, but after like first month or two, just, when you start to get to understand how to control your glucose levels or how different foods and different drinks impact your glucose levels, once you get under control, it makes it a lot easier. Right. And in a way, I'm very thankful to have started the business at the same time because there were already the people that depended on salaries. So it was kind of like so much happening at once that I didn't really put too much thought into the whole diabetes thing. Although I do have, like the monitor on my arm, so I can get like live readings of my glucose levels. And my scores are really, really good, so it's not really a concern for me at the moment. When I look at other diabetic coaches online, they're like them and their patients have their glucose levels within like 90%. That's what they're coaching for. And that's where mine are now. So I have no issue with controlling it and managing it and feeling it. So it really doesn't play too much in my mind. I'd say it affects more the physical side than on the mental side.
Can you drink?
Yeah, of course. Maybe we go for a drink after this.
Flip. Okay. So as long as, and I guess it's the beauty of what's the world we're in now with all the science and medical, you can get type 1 diabetes, which is, you said, probably like the worst one to have, and you can live a normal life.
Crazy, man. Like, I can't even imagine what it would be like, a couple years ago when they didn't have the devices to continuously like monitor your glucose levels, or, have the idea of just insulin. You can just buy insulin and inject yourself with insulin and, control your entire body, which is, yeah, it's insane.
So is chasing money more important than your health?
Yeah, can't be. Can never be, you know. Can't be. My goal is not to. I don't need a lot of money to be happy, right? I just need a little bit of money to let me feel free enough and do what I want when I want. That's the ultimate goal, and be healthy enough to obviously do that.
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing. It's you can have all the money in the world, right? But the moment your health goes,
Gone.
doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, it is a scary thought. So yeah, I'm just thankful that everything is under control, and yeah, I can live a long, happy life just the way I am.
Now, Dubai.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on Dubai for starting a business?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting landscape, right, to start a business. There were so many things that we didn't know or understand, and there's still a lot of things that I don't know and understand about starting a business. There's so many different, do you want to start in the free zone? Do you want to start in mainland? In which free zone? There's all different costs and different implications. So there's a ton of information that you need to know. But the beauty of it is that there's also the setup consultants that can take care of all of that for you. And I think, if you can make it in Dubai, it's a great place to start a business, with zero tax rates and things like that. Very competitive, I would say, but it's a great place to start a business, especially when you consider how many people are actually coming to Dubai with the market is growing. Yeah, fantastic.
And I think that's good for you because property market's booming. More property means more kitchens, and more kitchens mean more kitchen wrapping.
More wrapping, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, the beauty for us is like your kitchen is either going to be white or it's going to be brown. In Dubai, it's just classic. Everyone has like these horrible brown wooden kitchens, or you're going to have a white kitchen. But, if you want to change it, it's expensive to replace all the cabinets. They're probably going to be old, so just change the color with wrapping. Easy, fast, no mess, no downtime. So yeah, it's just way more convenient and more cost effective.
That's a very cool model. The more I hear it, I love how you went about the whole fact of like deciding that kitchen wrapping is what you wanted to do. It was a proper use data to tell you that, right? So you actually are a proper little data guy because literally you use the data to tell you that story, and with the trajectory of Dubai and where things are going, it's such a scalable thing.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing that you can look at is like Google Trends. So if you ever go into Google Trends, you can look at those same kind of keywords and the trend over previous years to future years and see how that's changing. So if you look at, you can even look at like renting property in Dubai and just see on average how many more people are searching for, that term. So it gives you a good indication of, people considering the property market and moving here. So yeah, super, super interesting.
You recently just did you do a triathlon?
Yes, it was a mini triathlon. Wasn't a full big triathlon, but yeah, I did one.
How was that?
Yeah, it was actually really weird. It was good. Like physically, it was fine. I did have a couple issues just with like trying to monitor my sugar levels, especially when swimming. It's very difficult. I can't monitor them because you can't swim with a phone, right? If I want to get the levels, it reads Bluetooth to my phone. So that was a bit complicated. But once I got into the bicycle after the triathlon, I was able to get, the readings and then able to like nourish myself with carbs and those energy gels to bring my sugar levels back up. Then for some reason, while I was running on the third leg of the triathlon, the monitor stopped working and the last bit of the chart that I could see was just crashing. So like, oh shit, like either this is going to just keep going down or hopefully I've calculated the right amount of energy gels and carbs to consume, but I have no way. So no way of knowing. So I felt fine. So I walked for a little bit and then finished off with the run, yeah.
How active are you on a daily basis?
Not as active as I should be. I'd say I've started trying to train like 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. But that would be, a lot of body weight, calisthenics type style. I've just gotten over like going to a super packed gym in the mornings. And while the weather's still good, there's a nice outdoor calisthenics park right by my house. So, that's part of the, get out of the house as often as you can kind of thing. So yeah, I'll just go to the outdoor gym, listen to your music, shirts off in the sun or in the shade if you want, pull-ups, push-ups, all of that stuff.
How important do you think being physically active is in helping keeping you positive and dealing with all the ups and downs of running a business?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, often you'll work the entire day and you realize, I should have gone to gym earlier because I just don't feel like going now, right? And if you get to that point, you're probably not going to go to gym. So it's something that you either got to do like religiously, be very strict with it, or just dedicate time for it. And what I've been really, really enjoying is putting my, 45-minute gym session right in the middle of the day, which sounds weird, right? As, someone that's trying to run a business, but that's kind of, it like refreshes that idea in my mind that's the goal that I want, right? That's the life that I want to live, to be able to do what I want when I want. So if I can take my 45-minute lunch break in the middle of the day and go and gym outside in the park, that gives me that sense of like freedom. It's so rewarding. So that's really why I try to do that.
Love that. I've never actually heard of that, but once again, it's about letting your lifestyle work for you, and it's about putting those little wins in every day, which psychologically, whenever you're thinking, oh, okay, this is hard, it's stressful, it's like, well, look what I can do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, look, I start early. I wake up at whatever 6 or 6:30, and then I get my 2 hours of deep work in. We have a team call every morning at 9 o'clock. So once midday comes, I've kind of earned that, right? So I've earned the right to go outside and do what I want with my time. And again, it just kind of reinforces that whole mindset and the reason for starting the business in the first place, right?
Well, Wes, it's great having you on. Really, really appreciate it. Some super valuable insights, which I'm actually just going to take right back to me now. But before you leave, there's always one question which I ask all my guests, right? And that is, what does escaping normal mean to you?
I love that question. Yeah, for me, escaping more normal is really about creating the life that you want to live, right? Not living the life that you have to live. That's really been the goal, and that's what I'll continue to work towards.
Awesome. Wes, thank you so much for the conversation.
Thanks so much for having me, man.
And hopefully have you back again soon.
Appreciate it, bro. Really enjoyed it. Thanks.